Hi, I'm David. This is Joe. Here's our review for A Futile and Stupid Gesture. Had to go. That's such a long fucking name.
Yeah. A Futile and Stupid Gesture is about two young adult college students who go to Harvard, but they don't really fit into Harvard, or at least one of them doesn't. One of them does. He's a preppy, rich kid-ish who, I'm not really sure if he's rich or not, but
they're in Harvard.
They're in Harvard, so they have a lot of money. Yeah.
It's basically a biopic of Doug Cheney's life. He's a famous National Lampoon writer. He helped start National Lampoon, and to be honest, he's obviously not our generation.
No.
So the only thing we really recognized was National Lampoon.
Yeah,
and I remember it from all the old Chevy Chase movies and from Van Wilder. And so we're like, oh, he was involved in all of that. Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So, we started watching it, and it was a funny comedy to start out with.
Yeah.
And from all the old Chevy Chase movies and from Van Wilder. And so we're like, oh, he was involved in all of that. Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So, we started watching it, and it was a funny comedy to start out with.
Yeah.
And let's see. His best friend, played by Domhnall Gleeson.
Yeah, which was a big surprise for me.
Yeah.
I didn't read the description on Netflix before I started watching it. So about 20 minutes into the movie, I was like, "Oh, that's that's him."
Yeah, I didn't recognize him at first.
No.
He's wearing a black wig.
Yeah.
We're not used to seeing him do that.
No.
I mean, we're used to seeing his trademark red hair.
Yeah.
And about 15 minutes in, we're like, "Wait a minute, is that Domhnall Gleeson?"
And it was him.
Mm-hmm.
And he does really good in the movie,
no,
playing
great.
his best friend, his support that he has for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm surprised. He has range. I mean, he was really funny.
Yeah.
In this.
Yeah, he was.
And this comedy, it had a different vibe, I think, than most of the comedies that come out today.
Yeah.
Like, it almost had an old school vibe to like some of the throwback comedies of like the 80s and 70s even.
Also, there's a shameless actor in this movie.
There's a shit ton of comedians and actors in this movie. I can't even begin to name them all.
Yeah, Schmidt from New Girl.
Schmidt, yeah.
Great.
Oh yeah,
Love
just seeing him for a second.
Yeah.
Seth Green, Domhnall Gleeson fucking killed it. Will Forte did a good job. He's the main, lead role.
Our main character, he suggests to his best friend, played by Domhnall Gleeson, he suggests that they, start National Lampoon.
Yeah.
Because it's something that they made in college. They would make these little, magazine kind of things. And he's like, what if we just do this for the rest of our lives?
He's a little taken aback, and he's like...
And he just got into, a few, law firm, colleges.
Yeah, he was just listing off, I got into Yale and all these... Apparently, it's easy to get into law school.
Yeah.
And
he wants to do that for the rest of his life. But he says, you know what, okay, fine. You make a good point. And he says, as soon as it stops being fun, then he's out.
Yeah. The whole time the movie's funny, and it just keeps hitting you. And even, they'll have its dark moments, but it's all mixed in with comedy.
Yeah.
So, you're really just, you're laughing the whole time.
Yeah. There's a few tropes in this movie that you can kind of predict, even though it is, about these people's stories. It has these arcs that are coming, but you almost forgive just because of the personality that this movie has.
Yeah.
And even the things that you think is going to happen, and when they do happen, they happen a little bit differently and throw just enough of that flair to where it's okay. And
yeah, they break the fourth wall all the time.
Yeah.
And they sit there and they'll talk to you as the audience.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
There is a narrator sometimes, and I don't really like that too often in movies. This time I thought it worked.
Yeah, no, it worked for this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
It was very self-aware that they were doing this. They even have a section where they show all the things that they cut in the movie because of time or, whatever. Or they said just because they felt like it. And it was cool. It was makes me excited for Deadpool. So,
But then, let's see. Not knowing Doug Kenny's life and not being really familiar with the man himself, like I said, he's before our time. There was, I guess, a twist at the end. I'm not going to say what it was, but for the other people that are, around our age. But there's definitely a twist where...
I mean, if you're any older or know anything about Doug Kenny's life, you probably probably, or Doug Cheney, sorry.
Doug. It's Doug Kenny? Yeah,
Is it
Doug Kenny.
Oh, okay, so I got it right.
Yeah.
But, or know anything about his
Mhm.
life, then you
Yeah.
obviously know what the twist we're talking about is,
Mhm.
which, I felt bad for not knowing that this happened.
I remember in the last scene, you're sitting there like, wait, is this like a trick? Or is this like, it's a prank, right?
Yeah, it's just it's just a detail of his life that I didn't know happened.
Yeah, and then you realize it's not a prank, and it's like, oh shit, and then it just ends. You're like, wow. We had to like go on our phones like, wait, what?
Yeah, it definitely makes you want to research things about this person's life. It makes me want to go back and watch, the movies that he's made. National Lampoon.
No, definitely.
Like movies.
I haven't seen those in years. I remember as a kid, I watched some of them, and
I've only
they're
seen
all
bits
hilarious.
and pieces.
Yeah, you especially.
Yeah, so I need to go back and actually watch them. But
just the big thing is not being totally familiar with the man himself, and you're watching this, you don't really know what to expect, because you just kind of think, like in my head, National Lampoon, it was really successful, so it's just going to get better and better and better for him, right?
Yeah.
And that's not the case at all, so.
A little bit of a different kind of success story.
Yeah, it's very different.
Yeah. If you had any complaints about the movie, what would it be?
Let's see, any complaints? That's tough because I feel like I really did like it.
Yeah,
I
think I liked it a lot. I think if I had any gripes that I'm looking for, like if I really had to look for them, I think the pacing is a little off in some parts. And, for the most part, this movie keeps going and keeps moving. There's a lot of scenes I feel like are a little too similar to each other. And I feel like you could have shortened the runtime just a little bit by cutting some of them out. But that's just a small thing. It's just how I felt. But for the most part, I did really like, the way the movie was going for a while.
Yeah, I mean, it was 140 minutes. I mean, an hour and 40 minutes.
Which is standard movie time. Yeah.
It didn't feel too long, but I mean, I don't know. I guess the only gripe, like if I really want to nitpick and try to find something I didn't like, was maybe there's an unsatisfying story arc, I guess, because it's a biopic, but it's still a story. So you have your protagonist, and you want to see them, go through a change. And it's pretty dark, and it just.
His character doesn't really change.
He's
kind of stays consistent.
Always the same person.
Yeah.
And understand, it's a biopic, so
maybe he was.
It's, you can't change what happened, but as a movie and as an what do you say?
Entertainment piece.
As a piece of entertainment, as a movie, you want to see the story arc and see how maybe somebody changes, and he just kind of was on a steady path in one direction.
Yeah.
And that's, really nitpicking, because like I keep saying, it's a biopic. That would be my only gripe, I think.
Yeah, I think overall I really enjoyed it.
What would you rate it?
I think on our rating system that we have so far, I think I would rate it. Sucks because we can't do halves. I don't think.
Do halves if you want. Yeah.
I think I would give it a 4.5 out of 6. So, at like what is it? Definitely worth your $10, but you don't have to pay $10.
Yeah, because
it's on Netflix. I mean, if you for some reason don't have Netflix and have to pay the $12 a month, but I think most people have Netflix, so it's definitely worth it.
I think it was better than a lot of movies that came out in January.
Yeah.
Because there's not much that came out.
Yeah, for January standards, it's through the roof there.
Yeah. I would have to disagree with you slightly and say I would give it a 5 out of 6. Because for what it is as a biopic, it's fucking great. Like, it was entertaining. It was funny. It just kept going. Yeah, I was into it.
All right. Well, that was our review of A Futile and Stupid Gesture.
This was the one biopic to rule them all.
Sauron, folks.
We're going to look back and be like, man, we really could have came up with a better biopic. All right, now for our spoiler section. He dies at the end.
Oh, yeah. We tried not to spoil it during the review.
Yeah, big spoiler.
That's the detail we were talking about. It's a biopic, guys.
It's not much of a spoiler. You can Google it.
It's like making a movie about Nixon and having that a spoiler.
Unless you skipped history class.
Yeah.
Then you'd be like, whoa. Man, that last scene for the funeral Like, I totally thought, I was like, dude, this man lived an outrageous life. He literally pranked his friends into thinking he died.
Yeah.
You know, he had
That's
the
what I
balls
thought
to
too,
make his parents think he died. I was like, damn, he took it way too far.
But he
And
took it way too far,
And
and he actually
himself.
killed himself.
Yeah, well, they don't know if he did it on purpose, but
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like he did.
He
Just
left
based
it-
on this
yeah.
movie, I feel like he did.
He left his shoes on the.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? But yeah, in that last scene, I was sitting there like, no, I mean, he obviously, they have the narrator, which is the future, his
Yeah.
future self.
And he says that line where he's like, "Aren't you me
Yeah.
from the future?" And he's like, "I am you from the future, but you know, if you didn't do this whole thing." And he's like, "Oh," and he's like, "Yeah, it's a story device." And he's like, "Oh, I guess it's a choice."
Yeah. And then, oh man, what was I about to say? Oh yeah, the whole time I was thinking, I was like, man, he did a lot of drugs, and he still lived to be really old.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. And then I was like, oh no,
Yeah,
never
no,
mind.
no, he didn't.
didn't.
He did all the drugs and then didn't
He
live very old.
did a lot of cocaine and then killed
Yeah.
himself. So that was pretty intense. But
Yeah, I don't know if we're ever gonna review any of Shameless, but you should watch that.
Yeah.
That's also really good. After you're done watching this movie on Netflix.
Yeah. And this was a great Netflix movie, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. I wish they showed more of his life, but
But there wasn't much.
but they showed it.
Yeah.
That was the whole thing.